How's it going, traders? Hopefully you guys enjoy this weekly Forex forecast, and make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel. Alright, starting things off with the US dollar index. The past week the banks added 601 longs and they also got rid of 201 short positions. Now in last week's forecast I talked about how we were just contacting this weekly area of demand. We didn't quite touch it, but clearly there was a rally from my demand zone here. And if you look at the daily chart here, we are actually about to contact the daily supply that was responsible for this downward move to the weekly demand. So this daily zone right here is going to be very significant. I would definitely stay away from buying the US dollar until this daily supply zone has been removed. So we could definitely see, I don't think that there's going to be a huge reaction from the supply zone by any means. I do think we could see a small move down and then eventually push up. And why do I think that? Well, I think that's going to happen based on this weekly uptrend that I see here. So the trend is still up on the higher time frames, and that is why I believe that daily supply will be removed. So definitely be careful buying the US dollar until we get that daily supply and daily uptrend continuing. All right, looking at EURUSD, and really quick, just want to give a shout out to one of the YouTube Patreon members who caught a nice 4-hour demand zone trade right here. Look at the move up here. He caught a 2-to-1, so just wanted to give a shout out to one of the members here. Congratulations on your awesome trade. Eventually, it did end up, breaking through supply, but we got a nice, at least 2-to-1 move away from that zone. So very nice, and congratulations to you. And now we will look at the call report for the euro. The past week, the banks they got rid of 6,300 longs, and they also got rid of 4,500 short positions. And if you look, we're reacting beautifully off of this weekly supply zone here. So weekly supply is in control in the euro with a very nice downtrend in play as well. If you look, we had a very nice reaction off of daily supply as well. And if you go back in all the weekly forecasts, I've had these zones drawn out for the members for quite a while now. So that's the accuracy of my zones. And if you want these zones, check out the YouTube or Patreon membership. Links in the description. It's only $5 CAD per month. You can get all of these zones on a daily basis and use them in your trading. So definitely check that out. We'd be happy to have you guys join the team. So now we're going to look at the 4-hour chart here on the euro. And since weekly supply is in control, any 4-hour supply zone is looking pretty good in my opinion. I don't really recommend taking this as just a set and forget trade, but I would suggest to maybe hop down to a 15-minute chart in here and look for a confirmation trade to the downside. And that would basically just be trading along with the 4-hour downtrend, weekly downtrend, and the daily is not downtrending, but it is overall downtrending. So on the euro, this is pretty much all I see right now, this 4-hour area of supply. So I definitely look to get involved short in that area. All right, gold, XAUUSD forecast. The past week, the institutions added 897 longs, and they also got rid of 1,782 short positions. If you look here, last week, I talked about how we couldn't really quite hit this daily demand zone, but if you look, we actually pushed down, just wicked in right here and just tapped my demand zone right there. So that is the power of supply and demand. And if you see on the lower time frames, I actually called out this 4-hour area of demand right here that I have circled, and we got a nice little tiny move out of it, but eventually it broke, and that's the problem when you're contacting daily demand. There's going to be a lot of wonky price action, but at the end of the day, daily demand is in control. So I would be looking for longs here on gold, and I'm not really seeing too much at all. There is this 4-hour demand zone, but as you can see, it's extremely choppy. So any trades in this area should just be 15-minute confirmation. Or since we are uptrending on the 4-hour chart, what I would recommend is maybe going down to a 15-minute chart and looking for set and forget trades like this. I'm not saying that's a great trade to take, but at the end of the day, long trades are definitely in play on the lower time frames like the 15-minute or the 5-minute chart, especially since we're coming off of not only weekly demand, but also a daily confirmation demand as well. USDJPY forecast, and really quick, just wanted to show you a little call out from last week's forecast. I pointed out this 1-hour area of demand right here, and look at the move away from that demand zone. Go back and watch last week's forecast if you're interested to check that out. Just wanted to show you guys that from last week's forecast. Now let's go on to the JPY call reports. The past week, the banks added 472 longs, and they also added 3,200 short positions. So clearly the yen is just on a tear right now. There's almost no stopping it. If you look, all of my zones for the YouTube Patreon members have been working very well, besides this one here, never got the pullback here, but look at the moves away from this demand zone. Clearly the bulls are in control on the USD yen. So I would only recommend getting in long. and there was a nice 4-hour demand zone right here that could have been a nice little trade, but ultimately, price already reacted off of it, so I don't really recommend taking it anymore. So what I would do is I would either wait for this high to be taken out, and then I would start looking for 15-minute and 5-minute set and forget trades to the long side. Other than that, I really don't see too many other trading decisions right now. Obviously, if the week goes on and we're on the 4-hour chart and we see another big up move with demand down here, that will be drawn for the members and that will be a nice trade here. But as of now, I don't see anything else to look for in trading. Either just wait for this high to be taken out, like I said, and look to trade the lower time frames, or wait for new 4-hour areas of demand to be formed, or even 1-hour area of demand to be formed as well. GBPUSD forecast. The past week, the institutions added 3,800 longs and they also added 535 short positions. If you look here, we had a nice little move up on the pound, but eventually, since we were in a downtrend, price just turns around and follows the trend until significant shifts are taking place. But as you can see, we are about to contact this daily demand. I do not think that we're going to see a huge move from this demand zone. We could definitely see a smaller move from here. So if you are short, I definitely would recommend taking profits right around now or right before this daily demand zone. So now let's go down to the lower time frames and see if we can't see any trading setups. So since we have a weekly downtrend and a 4-hour downtrend, I think looking for shorts on a 50-minute chart are okay. But like I said, definitely keep in mind daily demand is in control. Will be in control soon if we keep pushing down. But if price pushes up to this 4-hour area of supply, that would be a fantastic area to look for a confirmation trade in. And remember, if you don't know what confirmation is, I have a whole YouTube tips playlist. Definitely check that out. I talk about confirmation quite a bit. So that's all I could really see here on the pound is this 4-hour supply zone to look for confirmation in. Other than that, I really don't recommend doing anything else. And of course, if price comes down to this daily demand zone, I would definitely hold off on the shorts unless we get that pullback to that 4-hour supply zone that I was talking about. But ultimately, the pound's looking pretty weak here, and I'm not surprised to see it turning around based on this weekly downtrend that we've had on GBPUSD. All right, USDCAD, and what a surprise. We reacted beautifully off my weekly demand zone right here. What a move up. I've had this zone drawn out for quite a while now, a few weeks, so I just wanted to I like to show you guys the power of supply and demand here. I know I keep bringing it up, but I do apologize, but I think it's insane sometimes. But looking at the daily chart here on USDCAD, or really quick, let's look at the call reports quick. They added 2,800 longs and they also added 8,700 short positions. Yes, we reacted off weekly demand down here, but we're actually contacting a daily supply zone here, and this daily supply zone is pretty significant. I don't think we're going to see a huge move down from here, but we could definitely see a small move, and your confirmation to get in long would be the removal of this daily supply. So if we can get a push up right here, maybe base out before, we'll have a nice daily demand zone to possibly get in long at. But I would definitely hold off on longs until we get that daily supply removed. But if you're really, really eager to get in long on USDCAD, there is a 4-hour demand zone right here. But since daily supply is in control right now, I would only recommend looking for 15-minute confirmation coming off of this 4-hour zone. And then the same thing goes for this 4-hour demand zone as well. But clearly, we saw that shift in momentum. In last week's forecast, I talked about how if this supply zone gets taken out, that would be your signal to get in long, and look at the move we've had from there. So hopefully you guys are enjoying these forecasts, and make sure to like and subscribe. AUDUSD forecast. The past week, the institutions got rid of 1,100 longs, and they also got rid of 1,963 short positions. Now, if you look here, we are reacting off of daily demand, but this daily demand looks extremely weak in my opinion. Let me know in the comments down below why you think it's looking weak to me. I'd be interested to see what you guys think. So definitely get back to me on that. I'd be very interested to see if you guys are seeing what I'm seeing. So we are in daily demand. You could technically look for longs, but since I do believe the US dollar is going to get stronger, I don't really recommend going along the Aussie, which is technically shorting the dollar. So right now, I don't really see too many setups at all. If you really wanted to get in short, which I think is probably the best option right now, what I would wait for is this significant 4-hour demand zone to be removed. Why? Because it broke supply, leaving us with demand, and we reacted beautifully off this 4-hour demand zone. So what I would do if you're looking to get in short is I would wait for this demand and maybe even this demand zone to be taken out. So a nice move down like this, hopefully leaving us with a 4-hour supply zone, and then we can look to get involved to the short side. Until then, I really don't recommend doing anything. There is a 4-hour supply zone right here. You could certainly look for a 15-minute little confirmation trade in here quickly. Other than that, I think waiting right now on Aussie is probably the best thing to do, and at least waiting for this daily demand to be fully removed before hopping in short. But I think if we get that downward pressure, then I think it's decent to possibly look to get in short. USDCHF forecast. The past week, the banks got rid of 4,300 longs, and they also got rid of a whopping 32 short positions. In last week's forecast, I talked about this daily supply could be decent to look for a 1 hour confirmation trade in, and obviously we broke above this supply zone, and so it has been removed. But now we are in daily supply right here. So really quick, let's look at the overall picture to see if there's any indication of whether or not this supply zone is going to hold or if it's going to blast through. So let's go to a weekly chart really quick. If you look at the weekly chart here, wow, look at that uptrend. So in my opinion, based on this uptrend, I think that daily supply should be blown right through pretty easily. I do think we could have a small reaction off of it, but ultimately I think we will be pushing up above this supply zone. So I would probably hold off on longs right now, and I definitely would not be shorting against that weekly uptrend. So in my opinion, the best thing to do is wait for that daily supply to be removed, or if you're trying to throw risk out the window and you want to get involved long, which is sometimes okay. I don't disagree with it. There is a 4 hour demand zone right here. You could get a nice confirmation trade like that, just like we had off of my previous 4 hour demand zone. But if you do decide to do that, I would definitely use half risk based on daily supply being in control. And if you are going to short, which I do not recommend whatsoever, you should definitely be using lower risk based on that weekly uptrend. But USD Swiss looking pretty strong here. Just need to break through a daily supply zone. All right, last but not least, crude oil. And in last week's forecast, I pointed out this 4 hour demand zone and how it's somewhat decent. You could definitely look to get involved in the trade here. And look at that, price just barely wicked into our zone and blasted off. So any members that got a nice trade there, congratulations to you, and make sure to let me know. So looking at the call reports for oil here, the past week the banks added 2,100 long positions, and they also added 6,900 short positions. If you look, we are still contacting daily supply, which is why I said look to take profits on longs right around this area. I do think we could easily see oil continue to go higher though. I do not recommend getting in short right now. I would still be looking for longs, but maybe use maybe half risk based on daily supply being in control. But what you could do is you could just wait for this high to be taken out and then look to trade a 15-minute or 5-minute set and forget trade to the upside. Or we could wait for this 4 hour supply to be removed, leaving us with new 4 hour demand. We could look to basically do the same thing up here as we did down here. So that's pretty much all I'm seeing here on oil. If you are in the lower time frames, like the 1 hour chart, what you're waiting for your long entry is for this significant 1 hour supply zone to be taken out. So hopefully this happens, leaving us with demand, and that would be your potential trade setup right there. But overall, oil is looking pretty strong. I would definitely not be shorting oil right now, especially since we are in the summer. And yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this forecast. Hopefully you guys found this weekly Forex forecast helpful. If you did, make sure to let me know in the comments down below. Leave a like and check out the Patreon or YouTube membership if you need help finding your supply and demand zones. It's only $5 CAD per month. Hope to see you guys there and hope to see you in the next video.